Hello, everyone. Welcome to Upstage Rewind. I'm Missy Chrissy, or Krista Washington, if you need to sign me some checks. We're having a great conversation today, and we are diving into what soca artists need to do in order to win Soca Monarch. Yep, we're talking to two esteemed guests. We have former Monarch in the building, Otis, as well as chairman of Reparations Committee, a former Minister for Culture, former chairman for Spicemas, Mr. Arley Gill. He's joining us as well. So, before I introduce my guest, I would like for you to share this video with someone who will appreciate this conversation. And I have to tell you, we're playing Sailor Mass for Carnival with Upstage. We have registration on now. The deadline for Kitty's Carnival is actually Thursday. That is tomorrow, Thursday, the 27th of July. That's the deadline for Kitties. And we still have adult sections still open for Carnival Monday and Tuesday. And of course, we're getting ready for the traditional Mass Festival on Saturday, the 29th of July. I'll give you a little tease as to what we're doing for Sailor Mass and the costumes and packages.
Boy, 6 a.m. by the van house waiting, watching the trucks them load. We ready for road. We ready for road. We ready for road. Masqueraders them anticipating, careful the thing explode. We ready for road. We ready for road.
That's right, we're ready for road. And remember, Kitty's Carnival deadline is Thursday. We will be at the National Museum on Yonge Street, St. George's, from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. for registration for the Kitty's Carnival, as well as the adult sections. The Kitty's Carnival costumes are only $250 EC dollars, and the adult sections start at $550. We have a section for $595 as well. Of course, they're group discounts, right? So if you're signing up one or more persons, you are definitely going to get a nice little discount. All right, we're sweetening that deal for you. And of course, I am outfitted in my beach bum wear because we are going to beach bum on Carnival Sunday at the Grandance Craft and Spice Market. So let me give you a little tease as to what went down at Beach Bum last year. And when we come back, we dive into how artists can win Soca Monarch.
I love to jam and I love to misbehave.
Yesterday high, Wednesday, today high, every day high. Like you're brushing your teeth with a run over and over every day again. I don't know why every day I high, but tomorrow I high. I don't know why, I don't know why every day I high. If you feel I high, from the butterfly. I don't know why every day I high, but tomorrow I high. I don't know why. I like the ice antenna, like my voice like a cappella, like the trucks and the trailer, like the jam need a bailer, play mass like a sailor, face straight like a tailor, always high like Bob Marley and the Wailers. I don't know why every day I high, but tomorrow I high. I don't know why.
Yes, indeed. So get your tickets now for Beach Bum on Carnival Sunday. They are available right now online at gotofed.com, Eventbrite, and you can go in person to Canadian Optical on Melville Street, St. George's, or Spiceland Mall in Montrouge. All right, y'all, it's time to dive into this conversation. I'm welcoming my guests. We have the chair of the Grenada National Reparations Committee, Arley Gill. I love that middle name. Welcome to Upstage Rewind. How are things with you?
Thank you so much for having me on your program. I'm on top of the world. I mean, it's Carnival season, Calypso tents, out there. Taking the Calypsos, been to the Panyards and enjoying Carnival. To me, that's a build-up is a nice part of Carnival, So when persons come up on there and Tuesday, I could go to sleep. But
Indeed,
just to
Carnival is my
say,
favorite time of year.
yes, it's a
And
build up. And let me
yeah,
commend you. Let me commend you publicly and for your initiative with regards to the Sila Mass. That traditional mass for many years in Grenada was dormant. And I think that what you're doing by your innovations, making the little short pants and so on, making it attractive to this generation and so on, I think is absolutely awesome. Really, really awesome.
thank
My heart,
you.
it makes me happy, you know. And the traditional mass that we started in Victoria many years ago, that was extremely important to create a platform for traditional mass. So with the now resurgence of the Silver Mass, it has really brought a a new perspective, not a new, but bring back a good part of our traditional mass. So listen, you bang on, you're spot on. Could have gone and do bikini mass as everybody else, but you went differently, and Grenada culture is better
Thank
off
you.
because of your
Thank you
efforts,
so much
and
for
I
that.
want
I
you to see
appreciate that.
how well we think of you. And for the and a footnote, I saw George Otis.
Oh, well, we'll dive into it.
I saw George Otis when he was a junior Calypsonian man. Otis was a
Yeah,
top junior Calypsonian, a former junior Calypso Monarch.
Oh, that's a good
When you
note to
list of
officially
formers,
welcome
I
him.
was a former Calypso judge for many years. And
That's amazing.
I played a critical role in developing the scoring scheme for both Groovy and Power Soca. So
Well, we're going to dive
I've done
into
a
that
lot of new
today.
things in this
So
in this.
let's officially welcome to the show Otis, Mr. Kelvin Celestine, a former monarch, and of course, a well known singer and performer. Welcome officially to Upstage Rewind.
thank you very much, Chrissy. Well, I know you as Missy Chrissy. That's when I
That's
first met you.
right.
Thank you for having me on Upstage tonight. I mean, it's a pleasure to be here. I mean, to talk about things I love, what I have a passion for. And as Mr. Ali Gill said, I've not been in this yesterday. I've been in this since, well, old people say since Mary had a little lamb. From since the tender age of 6 years, I've been singing calypso.
Wow.
Yes, people may think I break out with soca music, but it's not so. With the likes of Likanati, Akima Paul, Mikey Hutchinson, Little Pinky, and all those names. Yeah, so I was a part of the St. Joseph's Catholic Soca Pioneers tent. That's with the likes of Teacher Nikki, Teacher Eddie, Teacher Lloydie, and Teacher Elvis, now the permanent secretary in education. So it stems way back for me, way back.
That's good. So we're so happy to have you because I love the background. It means that this conversation is going to be a very fruitful one. And I think perhaps a great place to start is perhaps where did soca competition start and what's the significance of having a soca monarch competition? Ali, I don't know if you want to take that one.
Yes. I think the first Brian Pitt will have to be credited with initiating the early Soca Monarch competitions in Grenada. That used to be held at the Sugar Mill, old Sugar Mill. So Brian used to put on Soca Monarch at the old Sugar Mill. Like as the first, the Power Soca was really started by Brian in those days. The Soca, I think the Soca Monarch initiative really, the evolution of the music from calypso into this new genre of soca, and of course the world renowned Grenadian Mr. Monroe in Trinidad. Then he put on the international soca monarch and really transformed that aspect of the competition, so to speak. Putting the soca music on this massive stage and giving Super Blue and Ronnie McIntosh and so on, all these top soca bads this platform, and of course it's built into Grenada. Brian Pitt would have started, and then later on, the Calypso Association would have continued the Soca Monarch. But I believe the Soca, the Groovy Soca Monarch now was started by without a doubt, the Calypso Association, with guys like Wizard Scholar, Persuader, now Minister of Agriculture, right? Who are at the time at the leadership of the Calypso Association. They started doing the Groovy Monarch competition, and that usually was we used to have it done at Fantasia. And I remember those early days when we started the Groovy Soca Monarch competition was just like 15 people, 20 people, and the artist. You didn't have all this crowd and so on now. So that, in tracing the history of it, I think it would be fair to say that the Power Soca Monarch initiative in Grenada was started by Brian Pitt, and the Groovy by the Calypso Association. That is why we named the Groovy semifinals after Brian Griffith. Brian was part of the leadership too of the Calypso Association, and he was very close with Mr. William Monroe. Brian would have lived some years in Trinidad. Brian, of course, is the father of Nika, if persons remember Nika singing soca. Yes,
Yeah.
Brian was her father, and Brian used to go by Monroe. In fact, the legend has it that William Monroe gave the Calypso Association through Brian Griffith the permission to have the Power Soca Monarch and so on, the Power Soca Monarch in Grenada. So that's a little bit of the historical perspective of it. But it
Thank
really
you.
comes about because of the evolution of the music.
Yes.
The Calypso used to be the big thing, but as more and more guys like Otis and them come on the scene, the soca started to take off in Grenada, and you had to give it a platform.
Yeah. And boy, look at the competition today. I almost find the groovy semis looking a lot more competitive, but
The
we'll
groovy,
see.
the groovy is off the hook this year. The groovy is
It
off the hook.
is.
The groovy is off the hook. So much groove, so much really good groovy songs.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the groovy is off
Otis, tell us, for those of the people watching and listening, what is the difference between power soca and groovy soca?
Alright, so the power, the difference between the power and the groovy is the difference in tempo. So the groovy will range from, let's say, 100 BPM to, I think, is 130, and then the power soca is from 130, 135 upwards. So is the difference in tempo, is the BPM, beats per minute. So you will have a groovy song, makes you groove, max 130 BPM.
Yeah. And you won competition. Remind us what year it was with Tornado. And that took Grenada and the diaspora by storm. So I'd love for us to relive that experience with you now and talk us through your preparation for the big stage and what you think attributed your success.
Well, it was 2010, and I must give kudos to Cohen Duba for writing the song, and Mr. Sean Roots Mitchell, nephew of Ajamu Mitchell, King Ajamu, for the production of the song. It was a team effort, and you know, as I always said, I got the idea one morning sitting in church, tornado, and I went to Wayne Green and said, Wayne, I have an idea, you know, um, I need to put pen to paper. Can we find a writer? And then he called up Cohen and then send the idea to Cohen, and after that, it was magic. When this song released, you know, I didn't know, you know, the song would have taken off like that and went to such boundaries. Um, when I walk the streets, you know, people used to see me and say, "But the song too big for you." The song bigger than you is, and I hope you go perform it good on Soca Monarch night. But my preparation then, I must give kudos to Mr. Delian Walters. Delian was the guy who prepared me for the stage. And imagine I had to run up the hospital step. Run the hospital steps singing Tornado. I mean, can you imagine that, Missy? That was a tough one.
I want to know if you could do that now.
I could walk it and sing it, not run it and sing it. I know. I mean, I still do my marathon mornings. I do my marathon mornings and so forth. I still exercise, but to run that step and sing Tornado would be a tough one. It took me sometimes sleepless nights. Myself and the dancers, we practice all wee hours in the morning. We practicing, and it was just. It's trying. Dylan is a guy he will take something and make it a movie, and he prepared me. I always tell people I did not see my costume until the night of Soca Monarch, and I must say kudos to Coxita Hall for sewing my costume for Soca Monarch. So all these people played an integral part in me, in my preparation for Soca Monarch. The build up to Soca Monarch. As I said, my costume came the night. I only know I took measurements. So
you're saying it's a team effort is one of the most important things in terms of having the right writer, producer, somebody to help you with the creative direction on stage, costuming, and everything.
Everything, and I must say thanks to my mother too. I mean, if we hadn't had that money to prepare. No, it's and I will tell people it's a preparation. Very costly. To be honest, I spent $13,000 before Soca Monarch in just preparation. $13,000.
And how much was your prize?
$30,000 at the time. So it's a lot. It's a lot to put out. And as I said, if you want to win Soca Monarch, you have to put out a lot. You have to put out a lot. You have to give off your time. You have to give off your energy. You have to, get that necessary funds and prepare yourself. It's a mental thing. It's a mental thing. You have to train your voice. And I also must say, big up to Rhonda Robinson. I used to go and do my vocal training almost every day by Rhonda. So, and as I said, it was a team effort. It was the preparation. I couldn't even miss a practice. Because if I miss a practice, it was like me failing a class.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is how tight and how strict the team was. And I must say thanks to them and Mr. Arley Gill, all of them who give me that that boost and that and build my confidence for the night, Yeah, and those days when Mr. Colin Dow, yeah, it was that intense for me to prepare for Soca Monarch.
I understand. So I guess when we see 100K, you're saying that that's probably something that's well deserved, given the effort that needs to be put in terms of resources and time and lots of things.
Of course, I mean, the time and talent that you put into, and especially when you need a good production. I mean, it's costly. Like me, who will pay a writer and pay for my production. It's costly. You spend at least what 3,000-4,000, and it's US dollars, just sometimes just for a production. Unless you have that arrangement with your writer and your producer that the percentage split and everything, but it's very costly. So when someone puts their all into preparing for Soca Monarch, I think that they must be rewarded handsomely. So that 100K is a good move, and I applaud that, and I applaud. It was a collective effort, but Boise was the voice of everything, So I must say kudos to Boise for going out there and pushing that 100K idea, and today we could see and artists coming to reap the benefits.
And Ali, I mean, you have observed lots of Soca Monarch competitions in the past. What would you say we can attribute to the success of the people who emerged as the winners. Is there any theme that you think contributed to their success?
Otis,
You break up
Otis
there for a
spoke,
while.
Otis
Yeah.
spoke to it. Otis spoke to it in passing, but when he spoke of the voice training and he spoke about running up the hospital step while singing, these are critical little areas in the preparation because the power soca, for instance, is high energy, high tempo, but at the same time you're being judged, and the judges have to hear what you're saying. So while at the same time you are walking up the crowd, giving high energy performance and so on. Your rendition, the judges still have to judge your rendition, they have to judge your lyrics. For them to judge your lyrics, you have to hear what you are saying. So that you must adopt and understand the techniques that needs to be used, whether the mic techniques, the fact that you when you are delivering, singing your words, your breath control is extremely important. So all these techniques are extremely important. The ability to sing your song on the night is important. Not just the re in the crowd. The crowd will jump once they hear the music start. But the artists need to be in control of their performance. They need to be in control of the performance and not let the performance control them. So that the voice intonation, their singing, and so on, and needs to be clarity and so on. So that's extremely important. So breathing control, the control of your performance, being able to be heard while you are singing amidst all the mayhem is extremely important. Of course, now you also need to your presentation must be appropriate as well. It's one thing to um, you having this presentation, you bring a car, a bus, a plane on the stage, and so on and so forth. But it must be relevant and it must be appropriate to the lyrics of your song or what you want to portray and that sort of a thing. So that there must be some relevance with regards to your presentation. So just quickly, looking at the different criteria for judging the power soca. Lyrics is 20 points, the melodic structure is 20 points, the arrangement 10 points, performance is 30 points. There's a lot of emphasis on the performance, and that's why we speak of your breathing, your rendition is extremely important, your clarity and so on amidst the mayhem. Persons must hear what you're saying and so forth. And at the same time, I spoke earlier with regards to the relevance of your support acts, because part of the performance and so on is you, the artist himself, how he presents himself from his costume and his dance and his intonation and use of hands and everything else. But you have the support acts, or what we refer to as the skits. Now, it's extremely important, and I see that happening year after year, that in some presentations you have so many persons on stage that you don't even see the artist at some point in time, but you can't. And that's why I say the performance must not control you. The audience really come to see you. The judges want to judge you, and not everybody that's on the stage. So that you're the persons who are on stage to support your performance. They must understand at the end of the day that you are the main act and not them. And as such, the presentation must be presented in such a way that it does not swallow the artist, so to speak, and that the artist remains prominent throughout the performance. That's extremely important. The artist remains prominent during the performance. You're not there. Yes, these skits and so on are helpful, useful, and so on and so forth. But as I said, the artist have to be in control of his performance. You heard Otis spoke earlier about the practice with his dancers, and I remember that performance well. Choreographed the dancers, they were dancing around in circles and creating a tornado type of wind. Extremely important. So you bring in the appropriateness. But Otis was part of the tornado. So he wasn't just dancing for dancing's sake. You see, it's extremely important. And this is what the judges really and truly should be looking at. Then you speak of originality. You cannot just simply plagiarize people's songs and go and compete and win with it. It ought not to happen. I mean, granted, in the soca music genre, there are some elements of the soca music like wave your hand, move back, move forward, jump, and so on and so forth, which is general what I refer to as general phrases and so on that are used by soca artists and so forth. That's one thing differently, but you cannot just steal someone's theme, someone's lyrics, and so on and so on and compete. So that originality is as important, and crowd response. And that's why I speak to, your songs must be catchy, the phrase, the music nice, and so on. And of course, crowd response. Now, crowd response is a bit ticklish, and the judges have to be very mature. I have done workshops with judges and so on. I keep reminding them that they can't get caught up in the hype. The
Right.
judges have
And
to be
also, what if an
in
artist is
the house.
first and the stadium is not as full?
Yeah, but you see,
What does
yeah,
crowd
when somebody
response?
perform first, you have to see real. What this though? You rent a crowd. You have fans that jump for the artist, whether the artist making sense or not. And you have the real artists now who move you. Whether you want to jump, you find your foot moving. The real
I have
performer.
never heard rent a crowd before. That is
Yeah,
hilarious.
yeah, but if there's a rent a crowd, you bring flag, you bring you say fellas raise that flag when I come and so on and so forth. And they do that, I mean they
Yeah.
run in the
So
head and everything
Otis,
else.
just
But no,
stick
the
on
crowd
crowd
response is
response
extremely
for a bit.
important.
Sorry?
The crowd response is extremely important, and the judges at the end of the day is 10 points, and
Mm,
in close competition is extremely every point counts. But we ought to be the persons performing early, like in the groove. Now the groove crowds coming fairly early, but the artists performing early sometimes can be at a disadvantage with the number of the crowds and so on. But the judges have to be mindful of these sort of nuances. But at the same time, you need to assess serious or genuine crowd response rather than simply just a fan base or just a renter crowd performing and so forth.
understood.
Um,
Also,
but it
from
must
the
not
standpoint
be.
of being on stage, how or easy is it to move a crowd? Is it that the crowd really needs to know your song in advance, or you can convince them along the way?
Otis can speak to that at depth, him being a performer. But I can say to you, that song Terra won with last year, I did not know it too well before the night of competition. But I think he worked wonders with it. I think that guy have a way of performing his songs. He did not enjoy like Rang Katang 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 he did before COVID shut us down, last carnival before COVID. That song just grew, maybe after Spice Mass a lot, So you have
Yeah,
a
actually,
well-known
the
song will
pandemic
start it off.
did
A
him a
well-known song
disservice
a
with that
well-known song
song
or
in terms
popular
of
artist will start
touring.
the crowd going. But Otis can speak to it maybe better
Yeah,
than
let's start from
better
you,
than I.
Otis, on how hard or easy is it to work that crowd from being on stage?
Well, first of all, I mean, and you will hear it from comments from everybody that the artists need to release their songs early. And I personally believe artists need to release their songs early for people to gravitate to it. For some people, they will have to listen a song probably 3, 4 times before they really catch on to it. Other songs, you hear it once and you catch on to it. And if your song is not released early, you have to be a very good performer to move that crowd on Soca Monarch night. I want to tell you a very good performer to take the crowd from not knowing to knowing. Yes, and it all boils down to your music accompaniment in the background. The from the drums to the percussions to your brass lines and all those sort of stuff. But it's very important for me. It's very important to release the song early so people have a fair understanding of the song.
And what do you mean when you say early? How many weeks in advance of the final competition?
Um, I would say at least a month and a week before. competition. Because I say songs will take time to grow on people. And and I always say that I believe soca music should, on the radios should start going 100% soca at least, let's say 2 months, 6 weeks before Carnival. 100% soca. So people could get acquainted to a lot of these songs. And so they would, because most people will listen to radio station. There are people who don't go to fets or wouldn't go to those local blockos and so forth to hear those songs, but they will listen to the radio for those songs. So, I believe, give or take 6 weeks before the competition.
Right. And something you mentioned, Ali, a while ago is the judging workshop. Before we move over to the judging criteria for the movie, but walk us through how the judges are groomed for their role and the selection process that you've witnessed, during your tenure with the Spicemas Corporation.
Well, last year while I was chair, we did about 4 to 5 sessions. We invited the old judges. We always looking on the recruits, always looking out for new recruits. There are persons who I know are knowledgeable about calypso and soca, but they don't like the judging part of it. I try to, urge them to come and to lend their expertise to the calypso and soca music. What we do, we go through all the criteria again. We try to do sort of mock judging of songs. We'll play songs. Now you have the video, so we can look at past Soca Monarch, Groovy Monarch, Calypso Monarch. You play it back, you get the judges, just to get them sharp. If you don't do something for a while, you get rusty, right? So we did some of that. We'll assess it to see how they go, get them to. I like to speak to judges to defend their score, and there is no, to me, that's a real calypso judge. When you could stand up and defend your score, you ain't just scoring because you're scoring. In my days of judging, we used to spend hours arguing among ourselves and with the artists with regards to different criteria, why you get this, why you get that. I think that engagement with the artists, then they know where they stand and so on and so forth. So one, we do review, we bring in experts, for instance, of persons, professors in English and music and drama and so on. We have drama to do presentation, English to deal with language use and different things like that. We brought in the bandmaster, Mr. Ethan, last year, deal with the issues of music, right? So melody and so on, he discussed those issues. Then we did the mock assessments by playing past performances. Then we did the assessment, and then we got the judges to have an open discussion and to the scores. Why you think that's a good song? Why you think that's a bad song? Why you think the person will score low in a criterion? All that discussion is to sharpen the judges' minds with regards to what they should be looking for and so on. And I can say to you, for instance, one of the issues that one of the gray areas now for the judges, especially in the groovy, and we certainly wouldn't have time to discuss it tonight, is the issue of the rhythm. What do you do with the rhythm? For instance, you'll have more than one.
You mean in terms of originality?
Right. More than one artist singing on the same rhythm and so on. How do you assess that? And so on. So all of these
that's a tricky one.
Yes. Well, we have started out more or less, Otis would know that even if you're on a rhythm, when he goes to the banner house, he go do look at different things. The chord progression might be the same, but they will tweak things with the melody and so on. So the guys have a way of walking it and so on. Tinkling with it. In fact, even when they go to the studio, like this, like the rhythm of that Boise on with middle finger and dash greater, and also to Terror Drinks on Me. Now, it took me a while to realize that Drinks on Me was on the same rhythm. If you listen to Drinks on Me, you would realize that they messed around a bit and they tweak little things in the melody, so it sounds a little different, not the same, although the same melody. So that the guys have a way of working, and the producers have a way, the musical guys have a way of working it. But at the end of the day, though, it's good for the music, it's good for the party, and so on. But when you're judging it, you then have to go to the criteria and so on, and you have to look at originality, because at the end of the day, what is being judged is really creativity, and you have artists that write the original songs, come up with their own melodic structure, their own lyrics, and everything like that. So so it's a lot, so the judges have to be on top of the issues. I say to judges all the time, you have to be a full-time lover of the music. You can't come
Well,
around June and July and play listening to Calypso and so on and say you want to judge for us in August. You have to be listening to the music here,
but
following other islands, other trends in the music.
enough just to be a lover of music or also some sort of participant.
I lost you a little bit. I'm not hearing you clearly.
Oh, are you hearing me now?
Yes.
Okay. Is it enough to just be a lover of music, or do you need judges who are also participants? So, for instance, they have previous music background, or they know something singing, or is that also essential in terms of
I think
getting?
being a lover of the music is absolutely important.
Mhm.
Having a musical background gives you is a bonus, and it gives you a good edge. In particular, I think the judges that have a good musical background, especially in the soca and the groove, for what we just discussed, they have an edge. Having a history and language background also assists judges, especially lyrics and so on and so forth. So that your academic background, whether it's music, English, and so history, and so it gives you. And of course, if you're judging calypso, you must be accurate general knowledge. You must not go around the country. When calypsonians start to sing and so on, you can't be baffled of what they're saying. You must know what they say. That is why a couple of years ago when we were having Trinidadian judges, I wonder how they could have judged the calypso, not knowing the local um, reality on the ground in Grenada. So yeah, a love of calypso, love of the music, soca and so, have a wide knowledge of music and an artist. I believe is absolutely important. Of course, a background in music, a background in English and so on, the performing arts, drama and so, it gives you a good appreciation. But it is not. But even if you don't have that, don't mean that you can't judge the music, because there's always you can learn. But I like judges who immerse themselves in the music. It's
Right.
part of them,
What is what are your thoughts with regards to judging the selection and judging criteria that you have observed over the years of being in competition?
Am I hearing you clearly?
So, can you hear me now?
You
Yes,
sound a bit muffled here.
yes, I'm
Oh
not.
no. Okay, I'll work on that. Otis, what are your thoughts with regards to the selection of judges and the that you've observed over the last few years being part of competition?
Um, we have quite a good, cast of judges. I mean, panel of judges. But there, I've encountered some myself personally who I personally think don't need to be judging at all. Because first of all, when you put on my score sheet, my TEAM, I want, and I hope you understand what I'm saying. My TEAM. So you from the get go, when I read that and I see that, I said, you don't know what you're judging, because you can't tell me because I wasn't on no football team, neither no cricket team.
It was the team on stage, Otis.
Yeah, it was me
The
alone.
crew on stage,
It
not
was
the
me alone.
team.
That was semi-finals. So when I saw that, I was like, wow. I mean, what are you judging? How are you judging me? Because you're not, should I say, intellectual enough to be on a judging panel. And then sometimes when you see the score your other score sheets, where other judges will score you high in your melodic structure, your lyrics, and so forth, and one judge will score you. The comparison is great, and I'm asking myself, was that person sitting there, or were they were drinking a beer or some Campari or something? So I mean, it's a toss up. I mean, as I said, we have some good judges there, but there are some judges who need to, as Mr. Gill said, be a lover of the art form of the music, and they must see to themselves, take the onus on themselves to sit and critically listen, think and listen to music, to calypsos, to groovies, to power soca, and be a part of the music, and probably judge somebody for the rendition, and not probably how you feel about them, or so forth.
Understood. Now let's move over. Let's slow down. Let's go from power to groovy in terms of the judging criteria. With the power soca monarch, we're seeing that performance leads the pack. 30 points. That's a heavy weighting. But we have the groovy competition as well, where this is now broken down with lyrics, melody. We have groove, arrangement, and performance. Ali, I know you went into detail. Do you want to elaborate on what you're familiar with as the judging criteria for groovy?
Yeah, just briefly. Well, of course, lyrics. You must have thematic structures. In any song, you got to be saying something and making sense. But of course, lyrics, storyline, introduction, body, conclusion, every song, you know. But of course, we look for freshness, appropriateness of language, catchiness of the hook line, and so on. Those things are important, the development of the song, and so. With regards to melodic line, and Otis spoke with regards to the mid range. It's really mid range when we speak of groove. Otis spoke of maybe 110 R&B to 130. Now you get guys going up to 135 in a groove. But certainly about 140 going up there is power you're talking. So it's really mid range soca. I say people, you'll know a groove when you hear it, because really and truly is you want to groove, so that the groovy nature of the melody line, of course, you looking, any writer looking for catchiness in the chorus and so on, something that people can sing along to, I say mumble or something, so catchiness is extremely important, at your high point and so on. Of course, your mood must suit your theme as much as is possible, and so forth, so that in the judging score sheet for the groovy, the melody is 50 points, but it is structured in such a way: melodic line 20, groove, which is rhythm, tempo, and mood 20, and arrangement 10. You really want to hear nice music in the groove and so on. We really want to enjoy a little instrumentation, some little, niceness in the music, so to speak, in layman terms. So the second criterion, melody, is divided to melodic line 20, groove 20, arrangement 10. So that's 50 on the melody. And performance, again, is 30. But this time it's rendition is 20 points. And rendition speaks to, like I said, regardless of which competition you compete in it, whether it's calypso, groove, or power, there must be clarity. The judges need to hear what you're saying to determine what kind of lyrics you have in a song. So that is why Otis was running up the hospital steps, because soca makes you tired, out of breath. But if you can run up the hospital steps singing your song, then you're in good shape for Soca Monarch Night. So these drills, it drills that soca artists have to be doing. They have to be fit as much as is possible, so that they can control their breathing and sing, and people can hear it. So clarity, intonation, and that's why I always believe young soca artists, it'll be a good way to hone your skills by singing a calypso. Otis understands intonation. That's how you grow up, right? Your timing. If you're out of timing, you lose. You get boo. If you don't know when to come in for your voice and different things like that, because all the while you're making people dance and prance and so on, you have to mind your business on stage and know when the band is queuing you up to start your next verse. You can't miss that. You can't be jumping up and so on. I don't know when to start your next verse and so on. You're lost. So that's why I said being control of your performance, right? And your pitch and so. presentation always begins with the artists themselves. I always say to that. I always say to artists, you like a Tina corned for a pound of rice and a chef. Use the product. You the product, so that your costuming is important. Your presentation begins with you. What you see on the shelf, is marketing. And the artist, the presentation begins with you. You how you dress. You know how much it irks me.
And
I
would you
ain't
say
paying
that
nobody.
even
I ain't paying no
dressing
money
is
to see nobody.
important in the preliminary round?
Huh?
Would you say that even dressing is important for the
Of
preliminary
course.
round?
Not just preliminary round. Let me tell you something. I ain't paying no money to see Otis, who just like me with me that t-shirt and sneakers, go on the stage and sing for me. I enjoy that performance, but I'm paying for it. You see? But no, what I'm saying is that the artists have to distinguish themselves. That's what the old boys do, There's this Sparrow and Juke and them fellas and them dress up and so Jamo and them boy dress. No, put a little jacket on and so on and thing, put a little fake glasses on, make yourself look nice. So the marketing of the artist is important. You the product. No, Chrissy, for real, you guys have to get with the program.
And just to butt in, Ali, just recently I heard Uncle, retirement age is 65, saying that on a program with Arona, that, how you dress tells a story, tells, how, it's just part of your presentation. And, he was encouraging them young fellas to do something. At least, as I said, Ali, put on a blazer and put on something.
Yeah.
Look the path. Just look the path.
Yeah,
And
I
not too
agree.
expensive,
But I feel disrespected as a patron if you walk on stage in a jersey and a regular pants.
Yeah, that's what we're saying. And even competition becomes more important. We talk about costuming. And all this talk about getting a designer and so on to design your costume and so on. That's the extent, because it's art. That's what they call art. Everybody knows artists without creating nothing. Not everybody is artist. Not everybody that go on stage and sing song is artist. They don't qualify as artists. I am saying that these days I don't want to be too controversial, right? But this thing about artist, number one, to be an artist, you have to be a creator of art, and the dressing is part of the art, and singing and so on is creative work that we're speaking about. So that the main point of the presentation begins with the artist, your costuming and so on, the use of the stage, the appropriateness of dress, the effective use of props. And if you want to see effective use of props, just pull up an old tape from Otis, Volcano, and you see what we're talking about. So we're not just having 1,000 people on stage. I mean, every year, like SMC could tell you, Carnival committee before that could tell you, artists come in, they want more and more passes. It's like a crowd you want to bring on stage. You don't need 50 people to tell your story on the night in competition. You don't need, yes, you need support. Yes, you need to do your props. You need to do nice things. I used to manage artists for Soca Monarch and so on as well, so I know what it takes, and so I understand the cost and everything. But your prop must be appropriate. Be smart about it. Sit down with somebody like a Dillian Walters, like a Uriah Peters, like a Kings Douglas, like a Chris Riggs or something. Somebody has some background in theater and so on, they could help you to design something. But even persons that are not active in theater, like a Robert White and so, Robert is active in theater. There are good creative minds and so on. All you need is to be appropriate with your prop. You must add to your performance and not detract or subtract from your performance. Add value. You see,
Yeah.
and those are the little things. But Chrissy, artist doesn't go to them sessions, The modern day artist, when I know outside the George Calypso many years ago, I ain't gonna tell you because you know my age. The Calypsonians used to come out in droves when you had George's workshop because they want to learn those things. But now you don't have this sort of a discussion with judges and so on regards to, and that's one of the areas that are really, really lacking across the board, from Calypso to Soca in Grenada, is rendition, is artist performance. We're very weak, very, very weak in terms of performance. Just look at that Trinidad, any ordinary Trinidadian Calypsonian perform, and look at the ordinary Grenadian artist perform, and you see what they're talking about. The use of the stage, the use of their body, the voice intonation and so on, the simple things, we are yet to master it. You know,
Yeah.
yes, we do have the excellent renderers and so on and performers here as well. Yes, we do. But across the board, you when an artist go on stage, he should be able to handle himself. Whether he make finals or semi-finals or not, you know. So we just always talk about the cream of the crop and we want to judge. So when you spoke of what you spoke about the 100K, I love the 100K. But also across the board too, you see, you would need to also increase the appearance fees. So that even if the person, there's only one man could win on the night, unless you get a tie, right? But even if you did not win, it does not mean you did not invest in your presentation and your performance. So that you also need to increase the appearance fee so that persons who may come 10th or 9th, they could still write off their debt, basically, you know.
That's a good
So,
point.
so these things have to be sustainable, you know. I mean, these things have to be sustainable. We can't just give 100K and give the appearance fee at 10,000 or 20,000. So it
Yeah.
has to be sustainable throughout the different. And once the government, I applaud that, you know, once the government is prepared to invest that money, because it's not SMC. You see, SMC can only spend what the government give you. You know what I mean? Yes, SMC can only spend what the government gives you, basically. And once the investment is there, and I make the point that it have to be sustainable. We must not do it for 1 year, 2 years, and then third year we go back down. So what happened in Trinidad? They used to give $2 million for Soca Monarch. Last year they didn't have enough money to put on Soca Monarch.
Yeah.
So
I
people have a
understand.
say, eat little and live long. You know
It
what I
has
mean?
to be done smart.
That's not
I
sustainable.
love that you
You don't have to
mentioned that
bust, you
we're
don't have to
weak
bust the
in terms
treasury.
of rendition. And I wonder how can we hone those skills from a young age? And I'm asking because for someone who grew up on stage, I pay attention to how somebody uses the stage. Don't give your back to this. You know, there's so many basics, but I realize a lot of artists do not know those basics. So, Otis, how can we develop that? Because you also were on stage from five.
Yeah, and those are the things I was taught by teacher Eddie, and even former CEO of SMC Kelvin Jacobs. I mean, I was part of something they call the drama group before. The Ministry of Culture used to have something they call uh, Festival of the Arts, and this is something I used to always take part in. And my school promos, we went for years undefeated in test species and so forth. But from since then, I was coached into how to use the stage. You know, as you said, never give your back to the stage. If you have to give your back, is much before some valid reason or so, or it's just part of your performance. But giving your back to the stage and performing, the judge is not seeing that, how your facial expression, how you use your hands, how you gesticulate in carrying out that song. So I believe, and if we're man enough, I should say, and want want to learn, we will go into depth as artists, as young artists, even older artists. We'll go into depth, and as you said, look at past tapes, and not even just past tapes of our performance of Grenadians performances or the countries, or even Google. Google and YouTube is for people university. We learn a lot from there. How to enhance your performance on stage, and you could learn a lot from there. I mean, as Ali said, everybody wants to be an artist, but no, they want to learn the art.
Yeah, very good point. And I'm wondering too, well, I'm hoping that there's at least some efforts in the future towards more workshops for the children from since primary school, so that we really become better performers for the world stage, not just for home, because I think people are paying attention to what we're doing in
Yes, so
Grenada. I know a lot of the Trini artists pay attention to what happens at Soca Monarch.
yep, yep.
Yeah.
Well, I will tell you that, Missy, so too, because in the primary school I used to go, St. Louis RC, we used to have our own festival there. We used to have our calypso competition and queen show competition, and this competition grew from being in the halls of the school, pulling screens and making space for the competition, to going outside in the yard. This is how big it has grown. So every, not I shouldn't say every, but at least 7 to 8 students in the school will participate in the calypso competition, and then you have the queen show. So I mean, I think this is something that should be introduced into schools to help young artists as they come up to develop themselves. Um, and as as we transition to other schools, and we grow, that thing died in Pomeroy School, but I think it's something we should try and revamp. You know, get young musicians and get aspiring artists to get into, wanting to sing calypso. Everybody wants to be a soca artist. Yes, you could be a soca artist, but where does this thing come from? Where does how can I first develop on my my performance? How do I use the stage? How, when to go to the left, when to go to the right, when to stay in the middle, where to deliver this part. We must have an idea as to what we want to do when we on the stage. It's not to just jump and run up and down and stay on one side no. You must gravitate. The people in the crowd must gravitate to you. So I must not perform for one side. I must perform for all sides. So these are the essential things that artists, or we as artists should at least learn and not only learn but also practice before a performance and so forth.
Nice. And while we're on that, how does an artist recover from a mishap during their competition performance?
You have to be a performer, Missy. You have to be a performer because, as Ali said, you must have timing with the band, and also you must know your song. So if you go off beat, let's say for 2-3 seconds, you must able to either lower the band or get into the groove and pick up from where you left, where the band is. As I said, you must be a performer. You must be a listener to know how to get back in there.
Right.
But,
Ali, you
yeah,
have any tips on that one?
I would chip in to say, hold your nerves. Hold
Exactly.
your nerve. Yeah.
Exactly.
If you make a mistake, you don't you know.
Exactly.
Right? In other words, in the past, you see men stopping, man want to blame the band, man want to do this, hold your nerve. Nerves is, multiple time kings, Calypso kings and Soca Monarch kings and so on, they do make errors on the night. They
Yeah.
do make
Sure.
errors. But
I've
it's
heard
for
it.
you to find it. It's
I've
for you
heard
to find it because as far as they're concerned, they continue that they do what they're doing, it's you to find it. So you got to hold
Exactly.
your nerves. Yeah, you got to
Exactly.
hold your nerves. I mean, a man might miss a line, skip a line here, right? But you would know. These
Exactly.
guys, the real masters of it, they'll hide it, but it happens. They're only humans, you might miss a line, you might miss a like a timing, but you
But
got to hold your nerves.
it happened to
Yeah.
the greatest already. Because I would listen and I would know the song and I would say no, that's not the
Yeah.
line. But they continue. It happened to me already.
Yeah, just they
I
continue.
yeah, I miss
And
I miss
forgot the
a line.
line.
I miss a line. Why just sing over a line from the previous verse?
Yeah. You move
Nobody
on.
knows.
So when you said a performer would know, a performer would know. Because
Yeah,
the stage is your home almost. But you'll make errors. But guys
yeah,
have to hold their nerves. It's not don't go on, start looking at the band, start giving the audience an indication that an error was made. So you have to
yeah,
know how to mask that error. And it only comes,
Yeah.
I guess, with practice and being on the stage. But just to comment on what Otis spoke with regards to Pomeroy School. I started to judge Calypso in Pomeroy's primary school. And St. David's is still the hub of junior Calypso in Grenada, thanks to all the teacher, Eddie, the teacher, Elvis, the teacher, Nikki,
yeah,
and so on that has
yeah,
blazed the trail. And I would say to Otis that the reason why Pomeroy School was like that is because of the teachers.
Right, the
Yeah.
teachers.
The
Trust me, the
teachers.
teachers was very much
You need to
important.
have teachers in schools that have the passion for those things. No one else will
Yes.
drive it.
True.
Our Ministry of Culture don't have the staff to do these sort of programs, and as such, it really it's something that I've grappled with for years. How do we make sure that we have more promos and so on? So I started as minister. I started, for instance, to introduce the studios, the music labs in school. I started in music labs in schools, trying to identify the schools where you had talent, because I also initiated the school Soca Monarch. And then you
Yeah.
have school like McDonald College, SAS, St. David's Sec, and so Booker, GBSS. We couldn't know all labs one time naturally, but you could identify the schools. Whether it's a teacher musician in a school, you will find one or two college students. If you have teachers in schools that are interested in the fashion and the quincho and so on, bet your bottom dollar, you go have a little quincho. Even for independence, they go put it on. So it
That's
really
true.
boils down to the teachers in schools with the passion. I mean, I must comment, there's a teacher in St. Andrews, Abina Vincent. She has a program now with mass. Oh my, yeah, you should get her on that program, on your program.
Yeah,
The
I've heard.
mass
Yeah,
in
she was part of our team last year, actually.
yeah, she's
So we're
amazing.
very
She's amazing,
familiar.
amazing. She's so much. Oh God, she's such a darling of culture,
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
when you have people like that, it's like it's a love. You see things happening. But if in areas where you don't have the teachers with the passion to do those things, it wouldn't happen.
It would happen
Yeah,
at all. Because
Yeah.
I would tell you,
absolutely.
I would tell you, Missy, the teachers and along with some of the students used to make our own costumes. The wire
Nice.
bending. I mean, Teacher Elvis. Well, I still call him Teacher Elvis. He's good with his hands, so he used to make most of the costumes. You know, that queen from the class with their group of teachers and some of the students will create their own costume, and we used to take those costumes down to Kiddies Carnival. So this, so that I said, my history stems from a long, 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 long way more than soca music.
I love that. I love that. This is a good note for us to end on. You've shared so many great tips with us. Otis, if you want to give any final words, any encouragement to the soca artists preparing for competition tomorrow and Friday.
Well, I just want to wish all the artists good luck tomorrow, God's will, and Friday. I mean, just go put your best foot forward. Remember, you have to sing your song. I mean, don't believe that your song is out there and pumping, and then you just go and do a mediocre performance. Remember, you've been judged. You've been judged on all the criteria we spoke about tonight. So go there, perform all the best, and may the best enter into the finals. And then for the Calypso on Sunday also, I wish everybody all the best, and may the best person win.
Yes, indeed. May the best person win. Ali, any final words, any words of encouragement?
Of course, I want to, like Otis, wish all of the participants, all the best um, in the competition Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. And as Otis said, sing your song. Be conscious of the criteria that you are competing with, your clarity, your voice intonation, your performance. You don't need the biggest skit to portray your song and so on and so forth, your biggest props. Don't be consumed by the props. Remember that you're the main product, and whatever you do, add value to your performance. Take care of your voice, right? If you need to go to sleep early tonight, go to sleep. Watch your intake of drinks and food. Um, don't make sure that you're in good physical condition, good mental condition to sing a song. You don't go in and stay drunk and forget your song and so on. Take control of your performance on stage, and all the best.
Awesome. I love that. Thank you so much for those tips. Final question. Who y'all think winning Groovy and Power Soca Monarch?
I think the person who will win.
Yeah, it's a bit early, Missy. To predict, I'm not shy to predict. There's some really good songs, really good songs. The groove is hard to predict. The
Very much
groove
so.
is hard to predict, and that's one area I believe the judges must not get caught in the hype and in the names of the artists. Listen to the songs of the artists, not the names, because I believe that there are one or two artists who may not have the biggest of names, but they have one or two biggest of the songs. And if they can do justice to the song, because a competition is won or lost on the night. But
True.
I have written and I've argued for years, and I think that really and truly the calypso competition essentially is a song competition because when you look at the criteria, the majority of points is for the song per se. Soca and groove too is song. You must have song of substance. So that's your starting point. You must have a song, but also your performance. And I believe that the groove can be ticklish this year. You need sharp
Yeah,
minds, sharp judges, and sharp performances from the artists can do
we
it.
do. I think
The
it's tight.
Soca is a little bit less congested, so to
Yes.
speak.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on Upstage TV show. We value you, taking time out of your busy schedules to be with us and to share these gems.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
so much for
Thanks for
having
having
us.
me.
Great. Have a good evening.
Big up yourselves. That was a conversation with Ali Gill and Otis. We appreciate them and reminding you have to play mass with Upstage. These are our costumes. The deadline is tomorrow for Kitty's Carnival. That is Thursday, the 27th of July. Call or WhatsApp us. The number is 405-2255. And you can visit us at the museum. We'll be there in person in case you want to do measurements to make sure you know your size. And any questions you have, we're definitely here for you. You can see us there on Thursday, the 27th. That is tomorrow if you're watching us live. And we'll be there from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. Here are the costumes.
Boy, 6 a.m. by the van house waiting, watching the trucks them load. We ready for road. We ready for road. Oh, yo, we ready for road. Masqueraders them anticipating, careful the thing explode. We ready for road. We ready for road.
And I should tell you, if you have any custom requests for your costumes, the deadline is tomorrow. Okay, so if you want the spicy skipper, that is the crop top and the skirt, you have to sign up by tomorrow. If you also want to sign up for the adult sailor, deadline is tomorrow, but the skipper section is still open well into next week, of course, or until we are sold out. Okay, and of course, we will be at the traditional mass festival on Saturday, so look forward to seeing us there. Remember, people, Beach Bum and Carnival Sunday, the best fetch ever. Okay, tickets start at 60 EC or 24 US for the cash bar. We have a drinks inclusive experience. This is where you don't have to pay for your drinks. And the early bird tickets for that at 150 are now sold out. You can get them for $200. And we also have a bottle service experience. This is where you get a premium bottle of alcohol, a standard bottle of alcohol, and also chasers, ice, a cocktail table. All right. So you can get these tickets now on gotofed.com or Eventbrite. And if you're in Grenada physically, you can head to Grenadian Optical during opening hours at the Melville Street location or the Spiceland Mall location. All right. Same number, 405-2255, if you need any information as it relates to Beach Bum as well. And stay tuned to Beach Bum Grenada on Facebook and Instagram. We're dropping the flyer with the DJs real soon. So stay tuned for that. I'll just share a little vibe from Beach Bum and I will see you soon. Follow me on Instagram, msy.celebrity. CHRISSY. If you want to keep up with all the shenanigans for the carnival season and any updates as to which events are hot, you can go to missychrissy.com. That's MSYCHRISSY.com. All right, I'll leave you with this beach bum video, and I'll see you tomorrow at the museum to sign up. Big up to our listeners on Soca FM 101.1 FM, Soca First Live Wire. Big up your whole selves. This was Upstage Rewind with Missy Chrissy, live on Upstage TV Show's Facebook and Instagram page.
And I love to ramage. I love to jam and I love to misbehave.
Yesterday high, Wednesday, today high, every day high. Like you're brushing your teeth with a rum over and over every day again.